Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday, everybody. Decided to do a little bit earlier because I know there's other events going on in the world that take us away from, distract us from the market. I think they got the Grammys tonight. So I gotta be with the wifey once that starts. But, keep the peace in the house. And that's the overall job. That's the reason kind of why we do this, is so that we can have peace and prosperity at home. All right, so let's get right into it. I have a bunch of names. We absolutely demolished last week with our watch list. If you paid attention to we had a lot of names last week. I think we went over like 20, 25 names last week. Lots of requests, and things seem to, I think maybe about 70. We had a 3 for 4 hit rate on most of them to achieve targets, right? So LRCX was one of them that went crazy. Tesla made the continuation, right? A bunch of good calls last week. So let's see if we can continue the vibes this week. So right now on your screen you have ES, which are SPX futures. I have and my typical setup is the monthly time frame on the top left. On the top right is the weekly. On the bottom right is the daily, and on the bottom left is your 1 hour. As you can see, ES just opened up for trading on the 1 hour just a minute ago. And it looks like it wants to retrace a little bit back into Thursday's session. So we'll check back on that particular, see what that's doing towards the end of the call. But for right now, I'm actually going to switch to SPX because I chart more on my SPX. And we trade based off of SPX a lot. So SPX, as you can see, is in this kind of falling wedge. For the past few months, we've been forming higher lows. And actually, last month we started to break out through the trend line here, and this month we've been following through on that move so far. If you look at the weekly on the top right, it's a little bit more clear, right? So on a weekly, we hit this resistance line a bunch, and every time we get to it, we fall. And we kind of had a couple of 3 weeks of traffic around this price area right here at around 4,000. And now we're kind of moving up away from that 4,000. We did experience some sell pressure coming in towards the end of the week. So it's really going to be important kind of what ES does and where SPX pretty much lands at the open. So looking at, and this week, we'll just take a look at the economic calendar and the earnings real quick. If you're in the server, you can go ahead and just visit under the Gold Rush Gang category. You can just visit the economic calendar channel, and you can see usually DYT will have us ready to go for the week. So this week, let me just grab this. Okay. So this week we have in the US, we have on Tuesday, trade balance. We have Powell speaking in Washington at 12 o'clock. Then we have consumer credit. On Wednesday, Fed Williams is speaking at Wall Street Journals, and then we have a wholesale inventories month over month. There's some China CPI coming out on Thursday over at 8:30 p.m. So it'll be out for Friday's price action. So I'd watch out for that, right? That might be a major catalyst for the U.S. markets, especially with Baba, Baidu, PDD, NEO, XPV, etc. And then on Friday we have some more Fed speak. They're talking about the Harker and Waller are speaking at the crypto conferences. And then there's some University of Michigan sentiment over 1 year, 5-year inflation. So maybe, those seem like they might be nothing. I would watch out for Tuesday, and I would just, we'll remind you as the day goes on what the news for any potential movement in the market might be for the day. Lots of big earnings this week. This week we have a lot of names that we usually trade pretty consistently. So Monday before open we have let's see, not many names. Tyson's a good one. IDEX, I don't know if you guys are familiar with IDEX, but IDEX is one that I've traded in the past. We got Pinterest on Monday after close. We got Activision and Take-Two. We got Zoom Info, which is usually a beat, right? Zoom Info is usually a good one. SPG is a pretty good one. Chegg is reporting earnings on Monday after close. And then Tuesday we have BP, we have RCL, we have Hertz, which I'm surprised Hertz is still public. We have Chipotle in the after hours. We have Enphase, which is obviously a server favorite, EMPH. Wednesday before open, we have Uber, CVS, Wendy's, Under Armour, Wednesday after close, we have Disney, Affirm, Robinhood, MGM, Goodyear. Thursday before open, we have Pepsi, ABBV, Kellogg's, Toyota, Cameco, Veru, Hilton. And then after close on Thursday, we have PayPal, Cloudflare, Lyft, Expedia. So a lot of big names, lots of big names. Some energy names, Bloom Energy, Energy Partners LP. And then on Friday, we have, Friday's usually light, but Friday we have Honda, right? Nobody really tracks Honda, but. So a lot of big names. I think the biggest ones that we should pay attention to for this particular week in terms of earnings, probably Pinterest would be a good one. I think SPG, not so much to trade it, but just to know kind of, the background, because SPG affects Amazon, SPG affects a lot of these retail stores because SPG owns a lot of the real estate. So if SPG reports a crazy earnings, that means that none of their tenants have missed, right? They haven't missed payments. The payment schedule's on time. Maybe they talk about some increases in rents, and maybe that stuff went nice and smooth for them, which would be good for the retail side, the tenant side of things. The perspective of like the Costco's and the Walmarts and the Amazons, they're making money and they're able to generate income and appropriately, pay their rents or whatever the case is. So I think that's something to watch out for. Another couple of big ones are I would pay attention to BP to know what's going on with the energy sector. I would pay attention to Fortinet, and I would pay attention to obviously Enphase. I think that Uber is a big one. I think that CVS is a big one. I'll be watching Disney, but I don't think that it's Disney's kind of unhinged because Disney has those two major segments. It has the parks, and then it has its streaming service, and then it has like kind of the merchandise, which is kind of in between the retail service, where they license a bunch of stuff out. But I don't know if that really counts nowadays. But Disney's kind of in a place of its own. I would pay attention to PayPal. I would pay attention to Lyft. And then personally, I'm going to watch CCJ and Toyota because I kind of want to know be ahead of what's going on in those industries. So some of these probably don't have the energy to move the market too much. However, they might, right? PayPal might be a good one for QQQ. Uber and Lyft might be some good ones to kind of keep track of, right? So with SPX, I'm just looking for, right now, if we go back to ES, ES looks like it's still forming that red candle. You got a little bit of buy pressure down there. If it fully forms a red candle and kind of pulls back, I want to see SPX kind of fall within this range here. I want to see it just hold this area here, right? Now, I'm using my volume profiles, right? So I'm using, this is Tuesdays and Monday, but also last Thursday, right? So we have like this kind of zone that I would love for this to, if it does fall, just kind of catch in this area. If it stays above, then we can potentially refill this move up. But it's too early to call, but I do love the fact that we're breaking out. We did have an inside month on SPX last month, and we're breaking the range to the upside, and usually the follow through will continue. It depends on what happens. This is a really ugly daily candle here. So really, we don't know what's going to happen, and we kind of just have to wait and see, right? Wait and see what's going to happen with earnings this week. Let the last few companies report before this thing finally picks its direction. So that's what's going on with SPX. All right, let's go through the list. I have both upside and downside, so I'll do 3 of each, and I'll switch back and forth so we don't get too biased, right? First one to the upside is Costco. And if you guys have anything you want to look at, go ahead and put it in the chat, and I'll pick it up and we'll take a look together. So first one is Costco. Costco, if you look at the monthly, Costco's been kind of forming this bull flag. Big, massive move up for many years, right? About three years now, a massive move up, and then it kind of consolidated all of last year and went sideways. To me, it looks like a very massive bull flag, right? Just a huge flag. And so if you look over at the weekly, we have 2 structures in place. We have this channel in blue, which we broke both sides of. We broke up out of it and down below it, and now we're right back in the channel, right? You see how it's kind of reclaimed the channel. And then we also have these lower highs and higher lows forming this kind of wedge here. So we have the channel and the wedge, both structures intact on this, on a weekly. Now, I think that the strength in the move on this previous, not last week, but the week before, big strength to come out of this consolidation. I think we can, and then it went up really, really strongly. And entered a previous, if you look at the daily, a previous supply zone, right? So basically a bunch of orders were sitting here waiting to get filled to the downside, because once this thing went down, it just flew all the way down. So this area that's highlighted is going to be very tough for us to break. So I kind of expected this move back. I measured, I ran a fib from the bottom here at the bottom of the start of this move here to the top. And so we can have some levels of potential support. I think we're going to come back to this 618 level. Just because of the magnitude of kind of how this fell off of this previous resistance here. This resistance here, right over here. And I also kind of want to retest the 200. We came and like tested it once. If you look over at the hourly, we came and tested it once over here on Monday pre-market, and then we kind of opened up from it and never came back to it. So I kind of want to go back to it, just to see, you know, just to make sure that the trend is strong enough to continue the move, right? So right now, and then the current structure, if you look at the 1 hour, the structure for the 1 hour, there's like kind of a channel right here. You know, I'm not going to take action on the channel. Right now, it's underneath some of its moving averages. I want to see it fall down. I want to see it come back to at least this gold box here where this previous resistance area was. Here, support area here, right? And, you know, and then if we get very lucky, I would love for it to come back down to the 200, right? The 200 will probably meet it right around the $500 mark. So it'll come and test $500, which is a psychological level. And then you got the 200. The 20-day might be up at the 200. So we might get a nice little area of support down here at the 200. And that'll be a nice gift for us, because I think from there it'll make a nice bounce and fully break out of both of these structures and move up, right? And then start to take out some of these weekly pivots here, right? This 542.58 and try to reach this 554.53, right? So that's what I want. I want it to pull back so it can really make a move to go to the upside. I'm not going to set an alert on it. I'm just going to go ahead and watch it. I'm going to watch it throughout the week to see kind of where it's setting up. But again, I want the pullback. So that's that on that. Let's look at the next one to the upside, which is Apple. Now, I've been pretty quiet on Apple for the past couple of months, I would say, but I'm Apple stays on my chart. Apple is one of my biggest holdings. If anybody who's been on more than one of these weekly watch list calls, you already know I'm all about Apple, right? So I've kind of been off of it for a while, but you know, there's a setup here that we just cannot ignore, right? Especially now that earnings is done. So they reported on Thursday after hours, and if you look at the report here, we have they had an estimate of 1.93 earnings per share. Apple came in with 1.88, so a negative surprise. And then they reported they had an estimated revenue of 121 billion. They came in at 117 billion. And right, so they didn't surpass their estimates. However, we did have the earnings, we had the volatility, we had a nice choppy move down, up, and then we kind of broke out. Even with all the bad report, people still found value in it. And so big move up, and especially off that 200-day moving average, right? That 200-day moving average right at 147.79. So very, very nice price action coming out of a negative earnings, right? That's the whole point of that. Now, if you look at the monthly, we had this massive channel that we're breaking out of, right? We had an inside month in January, and February. The past few days in February, we kind of just massive move to break the range of both of these 2 weeks, and even this third week actually. Right, this third month, we broke the range on this one candlestick, on this 1 week so far, right? This is the monthly candlestick, but it's only been a week. We've broken the highs of January, December, and November, right? I think we have yet to test October's high, but either way, I think that's a very good sign. That shows a lot of strength in Apple. What's the high here? 157.50, and over here we came up to 157.38. So we were just short by 12 cents to breaking October's high, right? So the fact that we're breaking trend on Apple, which Apple is like, you know, one of the biggest, if not the biggest market capitalization in like the S&P and in some of these big market heavy ETFs. You know, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that it's moving in the right direction. So you know, especially and I say good thing, I mean, as options traders, we don't care. It goes up, it goes down, whatever. Give me the direction. We're gonna make money on it. But you know, for those of us who are invested in the market and have money and hope that stocks only go up, right? Then it's good that stocks are continuing to turn around and hold some of these levels. If we look at the weekly, which is on the top right screen, top right of the screen, we have, let's see. So we had this channel. It kind of did the same thing as Costco, where it fell below and opened up above and all this stuff. And you know what? I would still say we're within the channel, just because we haven't formed a higher high yet over here. You know, we've tested it. We've come very close to it, but we haven't formed a brand new higher high yet. So we still have our lower low intact, right? But we just haven't formed the higher high. So I would still call it a channel. I would still obviously call it a downtrend. I do love how it slowed down very hard and a bunch of buyers came in and stepped in at this area here and just ran it up. And it looks like this might be, if you look at the size of the candlesticks, I mean, this is a decent sized candle, then they get really, really big. So that means that buyers are piling into this thing. The one fear with that, the one worry with that is that, you know, how many more buyers are left? How many more buyers want it up here at $154, right? When they could have bought it at $127 just a few weeks back. So when you see a big move and you see the candlesticks start getting really, really, really large after like 3 or 4 candles, usually exhaustion comes right after, which means there's like no more buyers left. So that's my only concern with it. If we do break above the high of October 2022, then we can kind of try to test this area here where we had a bunch of sell pressure within this little gap, right? So that's going to be an area of interest for us in the near future if Apple continues to move up. If we look over at the daily, we had a bull flag setting up here. Let me go ahead and draw it for you. So here's your flagpole. Right, there's your flagpole. I'm not even gonna get too crazy with it. All right, there's your flagpole. And then here's your flag. And it broke out on the day of earnings, pretty much on the day before earnings. It kind of gapped up in expectation. If you look over at the hourly, it moved up in the pre-market in expectation that it was gonna, I guess buyers wanted to, whatever the case is, for whatever reason why. Actually, I think who reported on Wednesday that catalyzed Apple to move up? Somebody remind me. Apple basically moved on a sympathy for some other tech company, right? Whoever, I think it might have been Google or somebody. So anyway, so they moved up and then obviously chopped around through the result of earnings, but then continued to move, which is nice. So we had this gap up above the 200, which if you look back on the daily, the last time that Apple was strongly above the 200, and I say strongly, like with conviction, is back here. In July, from July to about August, or the month, right? And then it tried it again this day on September 12th, but failed, and then it's been underneath the 200 ever since. So come Thursday, we put in a nice little candlestick above the 200 day. And then even with a bad earnings report, Apple opened up right above the 200 day and gapped and like made a nice big bullish engulfing. And Friday looked like a red day for every other ticker. But Apple, and then obviously we wouldn't have gotten in on this candlestick. It would have been the second candlestick. But the main thing is, like, look at the size of this move, right? This move, I'm going to go ahead and draw my fib from the bottom of this candlestick to the top of this candlestick. So basically the first 2 candles of the day. And Apple didn't pull back beyond 50% of the move, right? It maintained the upper part of the move. So, and everything else that I looked at in preparation for this call, everything had like a red hammer or like a kind of a doji or something just like really ugly with no conviction. But Apple still very strongly put in a green candle. So Apple's going to be top watch for me this week. If Apple moves, then the rest of the market moves, obviously. My targets for Apple for entry, I want to see it. I'm going to set my alert to this level here because I want to see it above this chop. Just get rid of that. Okay, I'm gonna set my alert to right here where the sell pressure kind of starts, and I want to see it trade above it and set a base right above that. My targets for Apple are, and Apple's easy to play. You just play every $5 increment. So I will call it 160 will be the first target, and then I expect it to potentially chop around in that area because that's where all the sellers are located on the weekly. So 160, and then above 160 we get 165. 160 will put us right here-ish. 165 will put us right above that gap. And then from 165, we can get 170 pretty quickly because we'll undo this one red candlestick here on the daily. So yeah, Apple looks like it might be ready, but I need that added confirmation. I needed to trade above the resistance of Friday. All the moving averages are pointing in the right direction. The 50-day, if you look on the hourly, the 50-day is coming down, and then it went flat on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday rather, and then Friday it made a new high. It started to point up. So that's a good sign. The 20 passed through the 50, and then the 100 and the 200 are right here. So once we start getting those moving averages to move up, I think that they'll serve as a catalyst for Apple to continue to move to the upside. So I'm really liking Apple for this week. Next one is Nvidia. Nvidia, it seems like it's been giving us a play every week. Nvidia's been an absolute monster for us. Let's see. All right, so we got the monthly in full time frame continuity. We got the monthly forming a green candle, forming a new high, eating into this previous candlestick, which is what I want. My target so far for this month is going to be 237.20. What that'll do is it'll take this move here from, if you look at the weekly, from the bottom here on October 10th. The bottom, that's the bottom of the move. The top of the move is here the week of December 12th. And then it pulled back right to the 50% fib. A bunch of buyers stepped in and they continued to move, right? So it's an A, B, C, D move, kind of what we discussed in a Fibonacci class way back when. Right, so you have your, and for those of us who aren't familiar with it, so most moves in the market occur like this, right? You got a nice, strong start. That's your A to B. Right, that's your first move is A to B, and then you get the pullback, right? And that A to B will usually occur for most of us. Sometimes it'll occur like at the start of the day, and unless you're FOMOing into something or like just throwing, market buying something, or your limit. Luckily, if you have a nice limit, it gets filled. You don't really catch the first 5-minute move, right? Unless you're scalping, you're not really catching that first 5-minute move. So it'll do the move at the beginning of the day, right? And then it'll pull back, and it'll set kind of an area where it'll find support. So that's B to C, right? So you got your point A to B, which is the first move, B to C, which is this second move here, the pullback. And then if you break above the high, this high here, then usually it'll continue the move, and you end up with something like that. It works on every single time frame. It's most consistent on the larger time frames, and that's what you want to look at, right? You want to see it on the monthly, you want to see it on a weekly, you want to see it on a daily, and then if you get it on your 5-minute, then maybe that day you'll get a nice move, right? So that's what I'm looking at for this. I'm looking for the continuation to get to one, and this is a measured move, right? So 237.20 will be the final target for this. As you see, 237.20 coincides with an area of resistance and chop, a little bit of chop in this area. And I'm just looking over at just this, this box here where buyers and sellers were in conflict until buyers took over and then sellers took over, right? So I'm expecting the same kind of thing here. And then if we can kind of break out above these levels here and buyers take control, then we can target, it'll be 275 or so, right? 275, which will be a very, big number for Nvidia, considering that 275 will be double what it was back in December. So price got cut in half, and then it could potentially go back to where it originally was. So good. And again, full time frame continuity is the real reason I'm looking at this. We have a green candle on the month, green candle on the week. Although it is a doji and it's kind of, it looks like I think it's called an abandoned baby. So it can potentially be a reversal, but we won't know until it happens. If you look at the weekly, the daily, we have another reason why I like it is because we have the inside bar on Friday. We have this inside bar on Friday, and although a lot of other companies put in a red candlestick, it is a doji, but it's still within the range of the previous candle, and some buyers still won, right? They took it higher than they closed higher than it opened, so it formed that green candle. And if we look at the 1 hour, really it just needs to find support at anywhere above 200, pretty much anywhere in this area here. I'll be perfectly fine with it. And then once it kind of climbs through 213, through 215, and then through 219, right? So I'm going to go ahead and set my alert to right around here, this area 217.05. it's gonna get interesting above that level because it can get gusto and move high, break through that, get to 220, 225, etc. And then if it doesn't, I mean, we have a play here to both sides. I have it on the, I'm bullish on it, so I have it on my bull case, but I'm not gonna ignore a beautiful setup in either direction, right? So if it gets below the open, then we have a potential for it to retest this 204 area where there was previous support, previous resistance. Underneath that, we can go straight to 200. So I'll be watching. I'll have my alert set, and I'll be watching for both. So let's go to some of my bearish setups for the week. Moderna is the first one. Moderna is very simple. I mean, we have this channel. We also have like kind of a broadening formation, but predominantly right now we have this channel. And this month so far, it's forming a low that's lower than the previous month. January was an inside bar for December, and now February has broken the range of January's low end to the downside. I've had a short bias since, I don't know when I wrote this. I guess it must have been last week or a couple weeks ago. Delete it now, but looking at this, I mean, it's forming higher highs and lower lows, broadening out, finding its range. It failed to break above this $200.25 level and hold it for a few weeks now. And we even had an inside week last week or 2 weeks ago, and last week it broke down and formed a nice big red candle. So what I wanted to do is try to retest this 154.77, which is kind of a midpoint for both the channel and the broadening formation. That'll be like a 20-point move to the downside, or rather $20 move to the downside, which will put us in a really good spot. And if we're in puts, or if we're playing puts. And then you have, if you look at the daily price action, I mean, daily is tough to play on this, but you can play the daily. You have that hammer, and you have this low to take out and this low to take out, which I think it can do relatively easily, especially since pretty much the past, except for Monday, the other couple of days were very indecisive, but on Friday you could see a lot of sellers stepped in. Like, we had price way above even the range of Thursday and Wednesday, but all the sellers brought it way back down. So I think that's going to continue to the downside. So we have our first target at 170.51, second target at 167.28, final target at the 100-day moving average at 163.50. If you look at it on the 1 hour, the setup is basically a break of this support line, right? It's kind of already broken, right? You see support. It's kind of already broken. So I just want to see it like fully come and test some of these lower levels. And then, the rest of that move would be, it's already been forming lower highs and higher lows, right? It's already kind of trending down. So we're building up this tension to just break and give it a nice big move to the downside. As you can see, it won't be going down too far. We're looking at what is it, 163.69 ish, right? So I think it's ready finally. It wasn't ready the last time we spoke about it, but I think it's ready now to fall. So I'm gonna go ahead and set my alert to right here, and we might open below this level. So as long as we don't overtake it at the open, then I think it's probably gonna fall. So the next one is Starbucks. Starbucks is usually one of my favorites. I'm very bullish on Starbucks. But the setup looks to me that it's gonna fall down. If we look at the monthly, we got that broadening up that's been in play for a very, very long time. We came back to all this previous chop on the monthly, right? All this kind of sideways action that led to this big, massive pullback. So we kind of came back to that area, and as expected, we fell down a little bit. Now on the weekly, last week we formed a bearish engulfing, which is part of the reason why I'm extremely bearish on this. And I think it was due to earnings. So I'm looking at earnings, and they reported same thing. Reported at a loss in terms of their earnings per share and their revenue. Excuse me. So I kind of want to see it just pull back, right? I just need the pullback so I can get in at a better price because I love the stock. Now price gapped down and fell right into the 50-day moving average. And price is currently between, let me cancel that. The price is currently between the 50 and the 20-day. I think this gap is going to fill to the downside. I think we're going to come back down to test this 618 Fibonacci level here, which is right where the 100-day moving average is. And it's also probably going to meet us at like the $98 mark. So I think that that's like a 98. If you've been trading this, 98 is a kind of a crucial spot for Starbucks. So I just think it's going to come back to revisit it now that it's broken trend to the downside, right? And you can see, I mean, obviously it was holding support. It was holding all the support until the catalyst of earnings brought it down. So what are my targets for this? Let's see. On a daily, I want to break below, obviously below the low. I wouldn't take anything until it breaks the 50-day, right? 50-day is always proves as a strong support or resistance. So I would take it at the break of the 50-day. From the break of the 50-day, I would come down to target the $100 level. Now, if you're in multiple contracts, I would sell 95% of your position into this target and maybe hold the one to see if it'll even reach the 100. And if the one reaches 100 and you feel a little bit more risky and you want to give it some more room and you have enough time, it might even come back down and test this 618 fib, which is where I ultimately want it, at around $97. So first target's $100, second target's $97. So basically from 103 to 100, from 100 to 97, $3 moves. And then there's not much to be said about it on the hourly. I mean, the hour strong breaking trend due to the earnings catalyst. Underneath the 50, we can get to some of these other levels. And so that's really where you want to watch out for. You want to watch out for that 50-day. I have my alert set on the daily, so I'm good to go. Do I have my alert set on the daily? No, I don't. I'm going to set it now. Set my alert right at the 50-day, 103.17. If ES comes down and opens lower than it closed, which it looks like based on where we were a little while ago, it looks like it's kind of holding trend right now, forming a green candlestick here on the hourly. Right, so if it continues to hold, then we'll see. Right, next one that I have to the downside is another sweetheart of mine, X, US Steel. US Steel is at an area where it could have easily reclaimed some of the previous highs. So for example, we had this high here, the high of $30.99. Now, $31 is a key area. If you look just across the screen, at this level, at this line, you see that every time that it kind of reaches this area, either there's support and resistance or it kind of slows down and forms like a resting bar, right? So it didn't take out the high and like continue the move. And part of that was due to, I think, just Friday's price action, where sellers were enforced for pretty much everything. They reported well, so it's a good catalyst for them to move up, right? They beat on both fronts. But you know, just due to the market, they couldn't keep the price as high as it was. So the reason why I think that it's gonna sell off, and I don't think it's gonna be like a massive sell off. Let me get rid of this. Get rid of this so we don't get confused. I don't think we're gonna get a massive sell off. I just think that, I mean, we got the green candle on the month, we got the green candles on the week after consolidation. So nice move up, and we made money on this move, right? But the candlestick on the daily is that's too much of a hammer to ignore, right? And then we have that little gap to be filled between Thursday's close and Friday's open. So I kind of just want that gap to get filled. I want to see it maybe come and retest 29, catch up with this moving average here, this 20-day moving average right around the $29 mark. And then from there, right, retest some previous highs. So we came, if you look at the 1 hour, we bounced into this resistance once, twice, 3 times before we broke out, and we broke out due to earnings. So I want to see it come test that resistance as support now, right? So come back to that level, test it as support. Does it work, right? 10 toes to the ground. Can I stand firm on this? Yes. Okay, good. Now let's continue the move. So that's what I'm looking for X. I want to see it just pull back. Another reason why I'm very bearish on it is because, and this is like not like, again, not long-term bearish. This might be a 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour. This is like Monday morning play. Right, maybe Tuesday if it goes sideways. Like this is 2 or 3 days maybe, and then continue to, you know, let's stick to the script. The reason why I'm so bearish is because we put in a big green candlestick here, broke the new high, came back, and then broke the range of this candlestick down. Tried it again, couldn't do anything. Big bearish engulfing again, and then now we kind of undid the 50% of this move, right? From the bottom here to the top here, we're below 50% of that. And then This red line here is a volume. It's the point of control where the most volume is traded. And if you look at this red candlestick, the high of this red candlestick is higher than the previous high, and the low is lower than the previous low. That's a bearish engulfing candle. So lots of strength in that last candlestick, that last 1 hour of the day, and lots of volume obviously on that one candlestick. So I think that the sentiment is for it to just come down a little bit. So that's what I'll be watching for. For this, I'll go ahead and set my target at, I'm going to set 30 as my alert. Under 30, I think we can come and test some of these levels. X is one of those that you can smash at the open. If ES or SPX are putting in a red day, or Apple, or Dow, or IWM, or what else, or any of the other ones that are kind of fall within the industry, some of the bigger names, you can go ahead and just send it, right? Send it to the downside at the open if you want. You have a week worth of time. My outlook for X is that it'll take a day or 2 or 3 to pull back to that 20-day moving average, around 29 something, right? $29 and something cents. So that's what I'll be watching for X. So that's 3 down. Let's go back to the bull case. So I'm bullish on LRCX. I like LRCX to the upside. The reason being, it has full time frame continuity right now. If you look at the monthly is now broken above the highs of May, and then also 540, 577, 548. We broke above the high of April as well, right? So just draw my line there so I could just see it very clearly. Yeah, we broke above the high of April as well. So now we're in the range to target March's high and then February's high. So green candlesticks on the green breakout range on the monthly. We had this resistance line, which can actually be extended. Let's see, settings. I'm going to extend it to the left real quick momentarily so we can just look at it. I mean, it's been resistance for a while, right? I mean, we had this level where it kind of sold off here. You see how it interacted a bunch on these weeks. Again here, and now, so we're finally breaking that resistance level. If you look at the monthly, it's been a bunch, we've just been at a bunch of times. So strong level to break. If you look at the weekly here, we got kind of a nice strong move. We got the pullback move. A little bit of buyer stepped in, brought it back up to the top of the wedge. We kind of slowed down at the top of this wedge. And then 2 weeks ago, we broke out above it. And then last week, we really made the move that was expected, right? And I think there's going to be a continuation. So my targets for LRCX are obviously break of the close of the week, retarget the top of the week, and then come and test some of these previous levels here: 547.79, 574.99, and 596.77. If you buy enough time on this, and I think a week is fine. If this kind of turns around, and you see we put in a doji here, with a long selling bias on it, also breaking below the previous range of Thursday. But I want to see it kind of hold some of this area here. If we draw a fib on this particular move, once it kind of broke out of that little wedge there, this part, I need to see it, and I just draw a fib just so I can measure half the move, right? And I need to just see it basically hold this area. If it holds this area, here, you can probably just buy like 575s or 550s, or even 600s. If you're risky enough, I would buy 600s for a couple of weeks, maybe 2 weeks out, right? But like 575, I think is attainable this week. I think 550 is attainable this week, as long as it kind of holds this level. Maybe we wait. Maybe it kind of sets up for us to buy it next week, right? So anyway, I want to see it pull back to this level, and then I want to see it turn around and continue the move. If you look at it on the 1 hour, and I was looking at it from like this perspective here, it's just flagging. It's just flagging right now. It's a 2-day flag, right? There's your channel. There's your bullish move here. There's your channel. I want to see it tail out into the 50%, and then from there continue the move. So I'll be watching it pretty closely. In terms of, I'm not even gonna set a level on it. I'm just gonna watch it because I don't know. Right now, it's not the cleanest. on the 1 hour, so I'm just gonna leave it alone. Next one I have to the upside is JP Morgan. JP Morgan. JP Morgan is forming an inside. So far, it's inside the price action of the previous month. Let me kill all these. Kill all of these. Where are we? Remove drawings. So we're inside the range of the previous month right now. I mean, which is fine. February's only been, there's only been 3 trading days in February, so that's expected. We are above the previous range here, right? So we're above the highs of November and December, and it looks like we're just gonna continue to move to the upside. But I don't know yet. Nobody knows yet, right? The one thing that I'm a little worried about is the potential for head and shoulders to form here. So we have, that was excessive. Do it this way. We have this shoulder here, right? And then we got the head, and then we got the shoulder that can potentially form here, bringing us down pretty hard, and I mean, I don't care if it breaks the downside, whatever it does, like as long as it just it's very convicted in its move and it makes strong moves, and I don't care if it goes up or down. I could care less. But nice head and shoulders into the neckline. Even from here into the neckline would be nice, right? Back to like 110 would be nice. If we break through and we continue to move to the upside. And again, this is just something that I noticed looking at it now. Like it's not, I don't have a strong downside bias on this. So I'm just gonna head and leave it like that. But I think that for the month, I think it can continue to move up. If you look at the daily, we got the bull flag. Right, here's your flag right here. And then it broke out, continuation, and now we kind of have some sideways chop. If you look at it on the daily, we formed a nice bullish engulfing candlestick. It didn't take out the low of the previous day, but it's just a strong ass candle. I mean, like, you have all this indecision here, all these small little dojis, and you got a nice big candlestick at the end of it, right? Above the high of Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday, previous Friday, all this price action. It's broken above it and it's sitting above it, right? If you look at it on the 1 hour, we're currently sitting above previous resistance here, and it had a chance to bring us down, but buyers came in and stepped in and brought it back up to the top of that range there. So really, we want to see buyers bring it above this level, test 141 as support, and then take out the high of day here at 142.30, whatever that candlestick is. Let's see, what is it? 142.32. Take that high out, and then that'll give us a shot to take out the high here at 143.49. Above that 145, above that 150, right? So I'll be watching it. I'm gonna set my alert to this line right here. As long as it remains consistent above the line, I think that we can get a continuation to the upside. Let's see. Next one I have is DKS. DKS is one of my favorite setups right now. We've been hitting DKS for a couple of weeks now, and I think this week is no different. If you look at the monthly just has a nice strong move, pullback, potential continuation, depending on if we take out these highs. Right, so like you see the same move everywhere in the market. It's up, pullback, and then continuation, or down, pullback, continuation. Right, like for example, here we got a down, stopped around here, pulled back, and then continue the move. Market moves in waves. Right, it's either moving up or down, but it's always moving in waves. We had the inverse head and shoulders with the neckline here at around 116 ish. Lots of sell pressure over here, gapped up above it, tried to hold it, fell underneath it, and then buyers took a stand and continued to move. Big price action last week to break out all that previous resistance, and now we're back in the price realm of November 2021, right? So back when kind of the market turned around for the first time after 2020, right? For the big time where the market kind of changed directions. So we're back at that level for DKS. I'm probably the only person that trades this. I mean, you guys probably aren't interested in this at all, but but this thing, you know, it what I like about DKS is that it follows the rules. When it shows you a setup, it usually follows through with it. So I like that kind of predictability, right? I like that. You can kind of rely on it, right? So let's see what's going on here. Nike soars off earnings. Gains for Under Armour, Lululemon, Foot Locker. So it looks like DKS moved off of sympathy for Nike. Retail sector swing lower on concerns consumers are tightening. Yeah, sure. Investors try for Nike earnings. So December 15th, the news was that retail sector swings lower. That was last week's. That was a couple months ago's news, actually. We haven't had news for, it looks like we haven't had news for DKS in a while. I don't understand why that's even showing. What does this say here? Yeah, this is from like months ago. So anyway, it's all about price action at this point. I mean, we got the inverse head and shoulders on a weekly. We got the bull flag, fake breakdown continuation on the daily. The hourly has, and we didn't take out the high of Thursday's price on Friday. But if you look at the hourly, I mean, we kind of based around this area. Sellers took all control and brought it right back down. And then buyers said, nope, we're not done fighting yet, right? And they brought it right back up to that level. So anything can happen at this level. It can fall down pretty hard, you know, way harder, come back to this 20-day, which will be fine. Or it can continue the move and start hitting some of these upside triggers I have here, which will trigger some, you know, some real, I think these are weekly triggers. Let me just take a look. 137.84. I don't know where those triggers are from, but anyway, yeah, I don't know where these are from. These are probably gonna confuse the shit out of me, so I'm gonna get rid of them. For now, I want to see it above where those two candlesticks are on the 1 hour chart. I want to see it above these two right here. Above those two and hold, we can get 140 very, very easily. Above that, 145 very, very easily. And as you can see on a daily, DKS, when it makes moves, it puts in big candles some of these times. So I keep that on watch. The last one that I have a bull case for is Lowe's. Now I know we don't trade Lowe's too often. Lowe's is a little bit difficult to trade only because it has it gets really gappy, as you can tell on the daily, and there's not much volume on the chains, on the contracts. And what happens is when there's no volume, the spreads end up being very wide. So low is something you have to kind of like really have, you know, you have low volume in price action and you have low volume in options chain. So it's very tough and you have to be a little patient and you have to buy time. But lows, if you do ever catch it, it usually will pay you very, very well. We had broke out above the previous range on the monthly. Hasn't held it yet, but it's working its way up above this previous range, bringing us back to some of the upper levels of last year, March. If you look at the weekly, we're just forming higher lows on the weekly. We have these lows here, followed by these lows, and now these lows, right? So they're all just getting higher and higher. And again, I mean, it can just break trend and fall down. But the way that it looks, especially with some of these big candles, this big week here, even this big week here after some price action fighting over here, and even this past week that we had, that's you know, those are some massive candlesticks, and they show conviction. So we just need to see it continue, right? The daily, very ugly daily chart. Right, so I will do my best to kind of ignore this daily chart. The one thing I'll say about this candlestick though is it's sitting at above where there was previous resistance. So if you just follow that line, it's at 216.09. You follow it over to the left, you get some resistance back here in this area, resistance over here. So we're sitting above that level, and you see that there was a little bit of a wick down here. So buyer stepped in and brought it, even though it was previous resistance. So that's a good sign. The best part for me about it though is we tested the 50 here once, twice, 3 times, and it served as resistance all 3 times. We kind of broke up above it on this day and tested it as support, found support on it, and after we found support on it, big move up. Let me draw a fib now that I'm here real quick. Let's see. Big move up, pulled back all the way down, kind of within this gap, and traded sideways within the gap, right? So we didn't fall back down to some of the lower levels. We're still above 50% of the move. I would even be very comfortable with it touching that 50 and then coming and working its way to continue to fill this. What I want is this upside gap first, and then I want to see it retest the high of the week at 223.30, and then from there we can get to 230 really, really quickly, right? Within a few days. So I just like it for the upside, but it really needs to hold the level where it's currently at right now. Sorry, I'm gonna grab a sip of water. I have 3 to the downside, and then I want to see what you guys want to look at, just in case I haven't covered it. Okay. So the first one that I have, the next one that I have to the downside is Baidu. The reason why I have Baidu to the downside is because the monthly so far, we're forming a hammer in the month of February, and there's a little bit of a gap to fill between where we are now and the close of January. We got to fill this gap right here. This gap right here, right? This gap that we're trying to fill now on the 1 hour, right? On the weekly, we got a nice doji, but the sell pressure here was really tough last time, and it brought us all the way back down. So I would imagine that there's still some remaining sellers in this area that might want to bring us down to potentially the 122, 123 area where we had previous resistance here. Maybe it's time we come back and retest it as support. We tested it on this 1 week. Maybe we test it one more time before we continue to move up, right? Or from there down, whatever, whichever way. The one thing I will say though is Baidu is still holding trend. Baidu is really, really tough. Actually, let me just switch this to like a 3-day. That's better. So Baidu, when you have gappy stuff like that, change it. Edit the time frame a little bit so it makes a little bit more sense to you. It's still holding the trend. Do 2-day. It's still holding the trend, right? Higher lows and higher highs. I just think that I'm not going to call it extended. I just think that it has a little bit of room to come back to this 20-day, fill some of this candlestick, test some of this previous resistance. That's pretty much it. It's very simple. It's not, no need to complicate it. I just think it has like maybe like a $5 move to the downside, right? So again, this is just like X, where it's like a 2 or 3 day play max, maybe even like 1 day, maybe even the first hour of the day, right? Come back down, $5 move to the downside, fill the gap, hold some support, and then from there decide where it wants to go. And then on the 1 hour, if I were to call it, I would just say basically it wants to come back to retest this area here. So this range, not only the top of it but the bottom of it, and then come back to potentially this previous resistance here at 136.68, right where the 20-day moving average would be. So I'm just looking for a target of 20-day moving average. First target is 140. Second target, let's call it 138. The next target, 136. $2 increments, $5 gap, and maybe it'll continue to the upside. Next one I have is SQ. So if you're looking on the monthly chart, we've formed a new high on February so far. Where is my cursor here? We formed a new high on February so far. So we need to see some of these levels hold before it can continue to move up. Everything is kind of showing the same price. It's showing like Thursday was high and Friday was just a little bit lower in terms of price. So this week it depends on what's going to happen, right? It depends on how like PayPal reports. Depends on how like PayPal will for sure give Square a little bit of like however PayPal reports will Square will act as a sympathy. So that's something to definitely watch out for. But a lot of these are set up. With these kind of island tops or these abandoned babies or these like, oh, there's price up here, but now price is lower and building volume at the lower end of the day. There's too many setups like that, and I think that's SQ is like one of those ideal setups. We got the hammer on the week on the monthly. Although it is a green month and it's formed a new high, we do have a hammer, so sellers are here to play, right? If we look at this weekly, let me just zoom it in a little bit. So if we look at this weekly, the last time that we were at this area where this was evening star formed and pulled us down, we fell pretty hard from here. And same thing happened here. We kind of traded right into it, bumped our head right into it, and then fell on Friday's price action. right? So if you look at Friday, we just kind of formed the doji. Inside bar for Thursday's price. And I'm actually gonna, you know what? Let me get rid of all this stuff. I don't care about this stuff right now. Inside bar could be to test some of this resistance here as support, right? Like the highs or the close of January 26th. But you see that this inside bar fell below 50% of this previous green bar, which shows me that there's potential weakness, right? That's all that is. It just shows potential weakness. Now, since it's below 50% of this bar, we can test a range of this of the bar to the downside if it continues to move this week, right? For the next few days, actually. So I mean, we'll just play the fibs, right? We can play the fibs. If you want to play the fibs, we could do 38, 50. What is it? Sorry, 83. What is it? Hold on. Your targets for downside are 83.85, 82.40. Let's call it 81.50, and then $80, right? You got some 4 price targets to the downside. If you want to play volume profiles, which I like a lot, then we can play 84.17. I'll play tops and bottoms, so we'll call it 82.91, and then we'll call it, just looking across, I'll probably call this one better one, 81.49. So 81.50 is going to be a good level, and then $80. Right, those are going to be your downside targets. Let me get rid of this Fibonacci. I'm just going to unsync it from the hourly, right? So if you want and then let me just unsync these. So you have your Fibonacci levels on your daily chart, and you have your volume profile levels on your 1 hour chart. And again, the absolute target for SQ would be, for this week, for the short play, would be $80. PayPal reports, when was it again? I think Tuesday or Wednesday, or sorry, Wednesday or Thursday. Let's see. PayPal reports on Thursday after the open. So sorry, after the close. So SQ has some unrestricted, unbiased trading to do between now and Thursday end of day. So during that time, I think we come down to the downside. Now, if PayPal goes insane, SQ is going to go right along with it. So this is not something that I would swing. I just expected to do it probably in the first hour of the day or 2 hours or something. You know, put in like if you look over on the hourly chart down here, it puts in like just crazy moves, like all day moves sometimes, right? We had 2 days of upside move, some sideways action, a nice gap down, big move to redo it. Nice gap down, kind of sideways, but trending upward. Nice gap down. Then we got the gap up, and now we can potentially turn the trend around. This is a really strong trend too, so I'm gonna go ahead and draw my lines here, and it's like kind of towards the end, towards the bottom of the trend line now. So I mean, there might be an area where it just kind of like holds sideways on this line and then just completely bounces. And if that's the case, that's fine too, you know. But if it does fall, we're gonna fall pretty hard, which is why I like it. But again, we'll watch it. We'll go ahead and watch it and see what it does, and obviously trade with no bias. The last one that I have for the downside, and actually I think this one I think is set up for both ways. If I recall correctly, yeah, it's set up properly for both ways. I have a downside setup, and the only reason I have a downside setup for it now is because of this 100-day. And that's just about it, right? That's just about it. I mean, you know, if you look at it, obviously Tesla got wrecked last year, and now it's starting to turn around and make new highs and kind of break the trend. So we had formed a lower low on this month of January, and then undid 50% of this candlestick. February, we've tested the top and actually broke above the range of this previous candlestick of December. So big moves for Tesla. Nice reversal here, nice smooth curve on the weekly, and positive earnings, right? We had an EPS beat, a revenue miss, but an EPS beat. And I think that a lot of like a lot that's going on with Tesla had to do with the economics behind him buying Twitter, and Elon really just showing everyone who he is, right? So I think people kind of took it out on him in terms of his net worth through Tesla, right? So, but either way, Tesla's a great company, fantastic company, great stock to trade. I like it right now to the downside because it's rejecting this 100-day for the second time in a row. The last time that it was above it a couple times. I mean, a couple of days here from July 28th to September. So pretty much the end of July, pretty much all of August, into the first week of all of August and all of September. What the hell is going on here? July? Oh, this is a 2-day chart. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. So it held up for pretty much all of July and August, and then it failed underneath that 100-day. And even here in the past, so it does like a couple of weeks above the 100-day and then falls now below it. What about over here? And then over here was just above it for quite some time. That's back when it was making all-time highs. Back here in November of 2021. So gotta make sure that's the 1 day. That was confusing. So we're back at the 100-day. So I mean, it can go either way. It did break a higher high on Friday, right? It took out Thursday's high. Actually, did it take out this high too? What is this? 198.92. We got 199. So it did make a new high from way back here. And then just very simply, you have a cup and handle setting up on the daily. Here's your cup right there. Here's your handle, these 4 days of price action. There's your beginning of your breakout there. The 100-day is going to be tough to break out above. And if we don't break it, we're going to come back down to this 50-day. And we'll catch the 50 and the 20 as support. From there, kind of figure out what it wants to do. If it breaks above the 100-day, if it breaks above the high of Friday, I would expect it to get to that 200-day very quickly, within a matter of 2 weeks or so. Just based on how tight it's been down here and then how it moves, it got a little tight over here. It might continue that move, right? If we look at the 1 hour, so it's kind of forming a wedge, kind of a channel, but we do have higher lows in the past few days. It's been riding this moving average. What is this? This moving average. What is it? That is the 20-day moving or 20-hour moving average. It's been kind of holding it even since back here. It fell below, held it, broke above, fell below, broke above, and held it, and then held it, and held it. So it's going to be between this 20-hour and that 100-day, right? Depending on what it wants to do. I like it to the downside right now, only because I want to see it come back and retest. And I'm not mean to Elon, guys, so don't say that, okay? I just want to see things pull back for the healthy continuation. So I want to see it come back and test that support there, right? Give me some support at 180, and then it could go wherever the hell it wants. Go up to 200, go to 300, wherever you want to go, bro. Tesla's another one of my major holdings, so I speak affectionately when I say I want it to pull back. So that's what I have. What do you guys have? You guys have anything you want to look at while you have me? Otherwise, and go ahead and put it in the, let's see. Put it in the trade floor if you have anything. Otherwise, I think it's obviously always worth it to go through every morning, go through the top setups channel. Jake has been on absolute fire with his eyes, right, and with his thesis. Obviously Frank is guiding us on a daily basis, and obviously J and S, they do what they do. These guys are damn near pros at it, so I put all my trust in them. If you see anything that I've given you here tonight and you see it lines up with anything that any of those guys have given you, then you know that It's gonna absolutely rip. Also, whenever you see DYT, like she went 1,000% on a couple of plays last week, very casually. So if you ever see DYT post a play in the trade floor, just go ahead and do me a favor and just at me, so I can make sure that we at everybody, because I like to make 1,000% on a play too. I would like to quadruple and 10x my money as well. Like, please, right? So let's see. All right, cool. I don't see anything, but if you guys have anything you want to look at, let me know. Message me and I'll go ahead and see if I can throw something up pre-market. But that is it, guys. Nice and fast call, a little bit over an hour. Thank you guys for being part of this each and every week. The more you guys attend this, the more I learn and get to truly master some of this stuff. So I'm thankful for you guys for giving me the opportunity to step in this role, and yeah, let's just make more money this week, right? Let's just stick to the script and make more money this week. Thank you guys. No, I haven't gone over EMPH, so I'm gonna do it now. I don't really, you'll see my EMPH chart doesn't have one line on it, doesn't have a line on it, right? But if we're looking at it real quick, Nell shot the shot clock and she got in right before the buzzer. I was about to smash that X button. So looking at the monthly chart, we have a couple of back-to-back down months. So far, February is kind of a resting bar, and again, it's just 3 days worth of rest. Enphase has earnings on Tuesday, right? So that's going to be a big catalyst for the move, whether up or down. Just on a strictly technical basis, just looking at it from a price perspective, we are resting right now on the month, but I think that all the pressure is on the sell side, so it looks like it wants to retest some of those low levels. Now, looking at it here, I'm just going to draw like I'm seeing this level. I'm also seeing this level, right? And that's just looking across the screen and seeing kind of where the interaction is. So if I were to wager that it was going to go to the downside, I would probably try to reach some of these couple of levels, and then maybe, let's see, this level as well, right? That's 205.87, 193.58, 187.71. I know why you guys like trading this, because this thing moves like Tesla. It moves like Tesla used to when it was like $1,000. What it does is it makes like 30-point moves, 20-point moves in a day. And that's all you need when you're trading options. You need these big decisive moves. Looking at the weekly, we were forming higher highs and higher lows within this channel. It's going to be very ugly, but I'll do it from here. Right, so you have all that support there, and then it kind of started making new highs. Ugly channel. Let's just do it like that. New highs and higher highs and higher lows until we kind of hit this brand new fresh high, and then just sold off pretty hard for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time. So now 2 weeks ago we started to break down this bear flag, and now we just kind of pull back a little bit more, right where there was previous resistance. So this is a good spot for it to bounce. It's also a good spot if it wants to break to continue to the downside. Now, they're an energy company. Looking at their previous 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, the past 10 earnings, since 2020, they've been beating. Now, we're not going to say that things are going to, history is going to repeat itself. But if it does, I think this will be a very good spot if it did want to bounce, because it has previous resistance here. I already kind of undid a lot of this candlestick. If it did want to bounce, and I wish I knew what the expected move was on this. We're probably not going to get it until like tomorrow or something. But if it did want to bounce, it can easily bounce and undo some of, obviously break this high and then come back into some of this area here at 251, and then start to undo some of this massive move down. It would be a really nice spot to bounce, actually, now that I'm looking at it. And then looking at the daily, we had a double top right here on the daily that kind of formed and broke us down. We had the initial move, the pullback. I know this is light, so I'm going to darken it up in a minute. and then a continuation of a move, which can also be counted as an initial move with the pullback and a continuation of the move, right? That's 2 bear flag breakdowns. Let me just make this a little bit darker so you can see it. 2 bear flag breakdowns. Right, here's your move. There's your pullback, breakdown. Right, which is also a move, pullback, breakdown. Now, another thing that I can kind of see here, and it really depends on what ENPH wants to do with that 20-day. There's a potential for a, let me get rid of this so that it doesn't screw us up. There's a potential here for inverse head and shoulders. But again, it all really depends on earnings. It all depends on what earnings, how they perform, right? Now we're not back at like a neckline or anything, but if we can form a low right in this area where it's now, right? And then maybe treat the 200-day as a neckline. This 200-day moving average could possibly be the neckline, right? Now what I want to see is, and if we look at the 1 hour, we have higher lows ever since it kind of formed this low here. We've been forming higher lows. We pulled back a little bit here to form kind of a channel, which to me looks like a bull flag on the smaller time frames, right? Let me redo that. I don't like that. Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way because I want things to be very clear with how they look. I have this level of resistance, and then I have this kind of planar level of support. This looks like a falling wedge to me. And for those of you that don't know price action, falling wedges typically break to the upside. So, it rejected this 20-day hard at the open, and then traded all sideways on it, and then fell hard towards the end of the day. And then again, it tried it again at the open and fell, but it didn't fall super hard. It kind of held this level of support. And so if we can hold this level of support and try that 20-day one more time, I think we can break through it. So it's really going to come down to that 20-day. I'm going to go ahead and set my alert to this 225 level. Where is it? 225 level right here, right here-ish. I want to see it above. Just zoom in on it real quick. I want to see it above these wicks, trading above these wicks, putting in candlesticks, actual bodies above these wicks. And I want to see it break above that 20-day. Now, if they report on Tuesday, we might be able to get a nice technical trade out of it on Monday. The risk reward to the upside is so much better. Really, I would look for what the insiders are doing, right? What the CFO is doing, what the CEO is doing, what the chief operating, it's energy, so operations is a big part of it. So what are the ops officers doing? Like, are they buying? Are they liquidating? Are they adding? What are they doing? And then I saw some stuff. Let me just see how current this news is. So January 26, Enphase Energy partners with Enerix for sale of Enphase Energy Systems. So they're selling some of their assets in Germany. So that can be perceived as good or bad, right? Why are they selling those assets? Are those assets not performing? But also they're getting they're selling it for cash, which means they have cash for other activities, other research and development, depending on what it is, right? I don't know. So that really matters. And then if you look at 6 days ago's news, Enphase Energy expands solar deployments in Brazil. So they're moving their operations, looks like, from Austria out to Brazil. If you know geography, that Brazil can be in a very sunny area depending on where it is, since it's near the equator. So putting solar deployments where the sun is at, I think that's very smart. 3 days ago, Enphase Energy Inc. demonstrates bidirectional electric vehicle charger technology. That's massive. So, I don't know what bidirectional electronic vehicle charger technology is. I don't know if that's like, if they mean like, like, for example, the Samsung phone where you can charge it magnetically. But then if I have a phone and you have a phone and I need to charge my battery, I can place my phone on top of your phone and pull juice out of your phone, right? Could be something like that. That's something interesting personally that I would look at. I would look into to see kind of what they're talking about. I think that's cool. But based on the news 6 days ago and based on the news of 3 days ago, I would say that them selling whatever they have going on in Austria it's so that they can do better things, right? They can kind of move forward in better ways. So I think the news is on our side. If we're bullish, the news looks very good. The falling wedge on the 1 hour looks really nice. That the fact that it retested the 20-day a couple of times looks good as long as it holds where it's currently sitting. And I think realistically it can come down to even that $220 level. So the range that I want to see it kind of trade in is like here. Just stay within that range, do whatever you want to do, but when you're ready to break, I think maybe this 20-day will force it down a little bit more, and then it'll pop through it, based on what I'm looking at. But we'll see. I mean, there was a lot of sellers on the Friday's price, and again, earnings is really going to dictate where this thing wants to go, whether it's going to be up or down, right? This could be another. I see an inverse head and shoulders here, but it could also just be a pullback for another breakdown, right? A retest of this low level here at 205. But we'll see. And I would just consult once more with the EMPH Whisperer. He seems that, Jake seems to have this one on lock. So, and there's a few people in the server who've been watching this, and you guys, I trust you guys' gut. I know that Tommy's been watching this one. I know DYT's been watching this one. Now I've seen you talking about this one a couple times too. So I think that you guys can trust your gut on this. But for now, I think it's bullish. Based on Tuesday, we'll know the truth. So yeah, that's it, guys. I'm gonna go have dinner before this thing starts. I got some laundry to fold, some Sunday fun day activities for me here at this household. So thanks for being part of this. If you guys have anything else, just go ahead and post it up, and I'll take a look at it a little later. And once again, thank you for being part of this each and every week. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, peace.
Thanks, Huey.
You're welcome. Thank you.